Welcome to the Jeff Miller Show. Each week, Jeff Miller of the Jeff Miller Consulting Alliance talks with Podcast Village host Charlie Burney about trends in business, consulting, and much more. The Consulting Alliance offers strategic counsel and tactical support to businesses, corporations, and nonprofit organizations in the Washington, D.C. area and beyond.
We're back in the studio for the first time in 2016. Jeff Miller, how are you this afternoon?
I'm great, Charlie. How you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
2016 is going to be a fantastic year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's got to get better than it has been. So,
2015 wasn't that bad.
No, I just meant the first week of 2016. It's all good from there. And but I wanted to catch up with you and talk about goals for the coming year and how we're going to make this the best business podcast out there, and sort of talk about what's going on in your head this week. So,
all right. So I may be a little bit all over the place until I actually get to the point, but there is a point. There is a point. So New Year's Eve, we always have folks over at our house, 10, 12, 13 people, and my buddy and I, David, we always do most of the cooking, and this year we made Cornish hen, which was fantastic, and I used my mom's recipe. So any recipe that starts with having the bird soak in sherry for 3 hours, how bad could it be, right? So, New Year's Eve is about fun, and it's about thinking about what was, but more importantly, thinking about what's in front of us for the coming year. And I hesitate to use the term resolutions. I prefer to think of them as goals. Mm-hmm. But whatever those resolutions or goals for you are for 2016, now's the time to really be thinking about it strategically, mm-hmm. thinking about it honestly, mm-hmm. Setting yourself up to succeed, mm-hmm. not to fail. Mm-hmm. And a lot of resolutions do that. So we've talked about SMART goals in the past, specific, measurable, achievable, result-oriented, mm-hmm. and in the right time frame. Mm-hmm. Write them down so that they're committed to paper, and share them with an accountability partner, mm-hmm. and your odds of succeeding with the goals are infinitely mm-hmm. More successful. Right. So, and I've been thinking about my own business, obviously, and doing some planning and strategic thinking. And it was funny, this morning I woke up, I was dealing with a couple of issues that didn't have me down, but they did have me a bit perplexed and contemplative and not in the best of moods. Which was fine because Betsy had left the house already, so she wouldn't fall victim to it, and the kids aren't around, so it was just me being me. And I said, you know what, time to go out and take a walk. Now, whenever I walk, and I've shared this in the past, I always think about the business, sort of strategic, and what I'm thinking about, what do I want to do this week, what happened, etc. Mm-hmm. But this morning I said, you know what, let me listen to a podcast. So I put a podcast on. And it starts with a joke.
Okay.
So 2 carnivores are eating a clown. And one carnivore turns to the other and says, do you taste something funny?
Yeah.
Oh, joke. But what it did for me is I just lost it. And it was a release for me.
It's an old joke, but a great joke.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And it was like all of whatever tension, whatever was inside of me just came out. I literally cracked up.
That's so nice.
Which was great. Yeah. And it was a reminder of how important it is to have fun every day with what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And we don't do that enough. And I think if that could be one of or whoever's listening out there, if that could be one of your resolutions mm-hmm. or goals for have mm-hmm. fun. Find the humor, find the fun.
Sure.
Find the ability to laugh at yourself and at others.
I should hope so.
Things become a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I thought I wanted to share that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've been thinking about as far as 2016 for me, and strategic thought and kind of focus and looking at things and breaking them down into different buckets, if you will, of services that I provide. I think the most important segment of the business community in this country is the family-owned business. And as you know, I come from that background. My dad was a retailer in Manhattan.
Our first episode, yeah.
Yeah, my mom was a caterer. And the importance of family-run business is so important because that's what forms the backbone of the communities that we live in.
100%. Yeah.
It affects the children. It affects the schools. It really affects every fiber of the community.
Right.
And I was thinking about my coaching process and what I've done over the years, and have very successfully coached family-owned businesses throughout the year, throughout the 13 years, I should say, that I'm doing this. Husbands and wives, brothers, father, mother, and daughter business. And I don't think there's anything as gratifying as when one family partner, turns to another one and says, gee, I never knew that was something you wanted to do. That's like striking gold.
Right. Okay.
Because I can go to a family business and we can look at all of the sales and the marketing and operations and what's working and what's not working. But more often than not, the first thing we have to do is make sure that that family is in alignment, particularly if it's multi-generational, because there are different agendas at play.
So it's another layer of depth on top of what is looking at business and finding where the blinders are, looking for the flowers in the cracks and trying to figure out what's going on. But you're adding a very complicated, dynamic and what that entails too. It's really fascinating. We could do a whole series on family business.
So much of my focus, as you know, is building community. It's building bridges, knocking down artificial barriers that we put up, separating various segments of the population. And I just feel that the family-run business is what America's about. Certainly it's what America was about, and it's what America needs to be about. You can talk about family values and all of that, and I'm not sure what that means. And when that term is put out there, people have their own agenda using that term, family values. For me, if you have happy family, by definition, you have to have happy community. And if I have the skill set and the ability to help impact on that global issue more in terms of what I do as far as working with small business owners, it's just, I just find more and more it's juicing me up.
That's so exciting.
It's really exciting. It's really exciting.
I want to get back to your joke. This may be your Easter egg, Jeff. My father has, I have heard the cannibal joke. My father also has a great joke about magic that I don't repeat as often, but I should. He turns to you because he is an amateur magician, and he constantly, now in his 80s, just keeps his foam balls with him so he can do the stuff in the elevator or wherever he is. But he used to say to you now, I'm a magician, but I can make you a magician too. Would you like a little magic? And his victim would say, sure. And he'd say, now put your hand on top of your head. I'm going to make a rabbit come out of your head.
Okay.
Don't you feel a little hair?
I do. Oh, Charlie.
I'm sorry. Not really. Yeah, but
well, although that's an interesting thing as well, because the question becomes, it's a funny joke, but when I put my hand on my head, for those of you who aren't watching the video version of this, when I put my hand on my head, I just put my hand on my head. I didn't feel any hair until Charlie asked me if I did, and you asked me if I did.
Yeah.
And it goes back. It goes back
to the concept
mindfulness of paying attention, noticing.
Yeah, it does. It does. Absolutely.
Bad joke.
Now I can't put this in the Easter egg because you made it part of the show. We'll see what Betsy says. So I've never looked in the county to see if there's, a loose-knit category of family-owned businesses, and how do you find them in the community? It just happens, I assume, most of the time.
So here's a strategy or a way of approaching it is, if I wrote down on paper, which I did earlier today, if I made a circle, the hub, and I'm the hub, and then I drew spokes out to the various people and organizations and just circles that I'm involved in.
Right.
And if I start analyzing those circles, these are people who I know and know me, and start having conversations with those people. Who do you know who? Ask some very broad stroke questions. It's not as complicated as we sometimes make these things.
Sure, absolutely.
Sometimes we make things complicated, or things are presented in a complicated manner in order to create a certain sense of exclusivity. It's not for you, it's too complicated. right? I mean, when you hear scientists talk,
Yeah.
clearly they're talking just to their community.
Well, that's the classic expression. Okay, give it to me in English.
Exactly. So giving it to you in English, figure out who your circles of influence are and just start having conversations.
Go back to the basics, talking about.
Yeah, rule number one, if you're looking for a job, is to let everybody in your circles know that you're looking for a job. I mean, Betsy's been at the library now for 11 or 12 years, or 14, because she spread the word, and somebody who happened, a very good friend of ours, Jeff Becker, who happened to work at the library at the time, he saw a posting and said, "Hey, Bets, I think this is something you might
be something." Oh, is that how it happened? That's really
and that's
great
literally
story.
how it happened.
That's
and
a great story.
Jeff has passed on, but he's just a wonderful guy, and that's how it happens.
And that's
talking to people.
How wonderful opportunities happen using your network or your circle.
Yeah.
And I have to give a shout out to Betsy and say how wonderful she is. She hosted my daughter Isabel, who does Isabel's bookcase, and my wife Alice and me at the Library of Congress to look at the Civil Rights exhibit over the holidays. It was truly exceptional, and your wife is absolutely lovely. And it was fun to have a, quote unquote behind the scenes tour. It wasn't behind the scenes, obviously hard to get inside of a panel, but she could talk about the elements of the exhibit that were interesting or contentious or difficult, or there were so many different stories that came out of that tour. Not that the exhibit wasn't fabulous, and because of my daughter's interest in that movement, we all sort of know more about it. Isn't it wonderful, the lens that our children give us, and to have then the connection made with you and Betsy was just wonderful.
Well,
so shout out to Betsy.
I know she enjoyed it, and my wife is a wonderful woman. It was funny, I was having a conversation with a client earlier today, Paul Curry, and we were talking about understanding what your core values as a business owner, what are those core values? The top 5 that regardless you are unwilling to compromise on. And as we were having the conversation, and I've known this obviously for a while, because my core values are written down and they're rock solid to me, but family. And specifically when I say family, I'm talking about Betsy and the girls. And everything I do as a business, it's not that they're motivating me per se, but as you know, I talk about them all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's important to me, it's who I am, and it's part of my business in that sense.
Yeah.
I've got clients who are asking, hey, how's Bets doing? How are the girls doing? How's tomorrow up in Toronto and all those things. So, it's pretty cool to be married to such a special woman.
Yeah. Well, she was wonderful, just wonderful. Well, let's keep then, if you don't mind my saying it, let's keep family-owned business and family business, and that is an aspect, one of our lenses that we look as we proceed into 2016. I want to take a quick shout out to anybody who's listening and say, please let us know if you have some questions for Jeff. You can tweet at us, you can call us up, you can find him at JeffMillerConsultingAlliance.com, and I'm sure all the links are correct for contacting him with questions. You can find us at podcastvillage.com. But we would love to create some interaction with our audience this year, and thank you for listening. And that's all I got for you today, Jeff.
Charlie, thanks as always. Make 2016 the best year that you've experienced so far, and build on 2016 to have even a better 2017, because it'll be here before you know it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Take care, Charlie.
The Jeff Miller Show is brought to you by Podcast Village, located at Launch Workplaces in Gaithersburg, Maryland. If you would like to contact Jeff or Charlie, please tweet to @Podcast Village or @JeffMillConsult. You can also email Jeff at jeff@jmconsultingalliance.com. What story would you like to tell?
We'll see what Betsy says.